Okay, so I want to talk about what's holding you back. And there's three areas I want to talk about, and we'll go through them one by one and then the subcategories beneath. And so if you're a business owner, executive, entrepreneur, these three areas you really need to examine. So the first is loss aversion. Okay, so loss aversion, think about it like this. Here's a few key things that you need to think about. The $20 rule. If you found $20 on the street, or if you opened your wallet and you realized $20 was missing, what would impact your day more? And for most people, it's easy to say that the $20 loss actually is going to impact them more than if they found the $20 on the street. The $20 on the street would be a great thing. It'd be awesome. But if they lost that $20 later that day, they'd go, oh man, I lost $20. Instead of saying, nah, I found 20, I lost 20, I'm at the same spot. If they lost 20 and didn't find 20, they're probably going to go, oh man, I lost $20. I'm so stupid. What was I thinking? I got to be more attention to detail. And all that might be true. You need to be more attention to detail, and you might need to pay attention to what you're thinking, but it's $20, right? And so if something very small, like $20, has a huge impact on your day, then you're probably struggling with loss aversion and the fear of kind of losing things. The next thing is potential rewards, penalties versus rewards, sorry. So think about it like this. If you're overly afraid all the time of getting a penalty versus looking at something and go, man, the upside here is this. The reward is this. If always I could have this happen to me, this could get me in trouble. This might prevent me from doing what I want. Now, I'm not saying go break the law and stuff like that, but in general, are rewards something that you value more than potential penalties? And this goes back to that saying, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, right? And I struggle with where I come in on exactly that line, but there is some truth to it. If you just go do stuff, you might get some penalties. You might face some things that you didn't want. You might have some clients, get rid of you. However, a lot of times, the worst thing that's going to happen is nothing. That's the actual reality. And it kind of goes down to this, right? When you think about opportunities, if the potential loss is always greater than the potential gain in your mind, it's always more important. What might I stand to lose? What might happen? What might this outcome be in a negative light? Instead of thinking, man, if I do this, then I get that. If I can hit this goal, then I get that. If I get to this spot, like the potential gain has to have more impact on your life, because if it doesn't, you're going to be stuck in this spot to going, oh, I could lose everything. I could do this, and I could be, on the street. All these things can start to creep into your head. I could lose the whole company. Reality is probably not going to happen. And if you use some wisdom here mixed in with this, you'll find that, okay, it's not as scary as you think it is. Okay, so the next thing is emotional impact, right? So emotional impact. After loss aversion, we have emotional impact. And the first thing is the wins don't really matter. Think about those coaches who have won championships or Super Bowls, and they're kind of happy, but they're not really that happy. But they lose a game and they are devastated. They can't move past it. They're sitting there, they're in a bad mood for a few days or whatever, but they win the championship, the highest award they can win in their sport, and they're like, yeah, this is great, but the next day I've got to focus on something else. They lose a game and they're like, oh man, they're so down the dumps. This is why this mentality of loss aversion and thinking about the potential, well, I guess it's the wrong spot, but the potential losses over wins is so toxic, because when you get a win, you should start by celebrating the small wins, right? If you start by celebrating the small wins proportionate to the small win, then when you get to the big wins, you will start to enjoy them more. So if you have a booked call with a lead, that's a small win. I'm not saying go buy a bottle of $300 champagne, but pat yourself on the back. Good job. Attaboy. Nothing wrong with it. You sign the client, even better. The client pays you, even better. The job's complete and the client's happy, great, right? So you stack those small wins together. That's how you get past some of that. when you're thinking about what might happen, if you're going, the potential loss here is just too much for me to bear. I can't really deal with this. This is causing me stress. It's causing me anxiety. It's causing me issues that I go, I'm not really sure I can handle all of this. Just off the potential, not off of the real loss, the potential loss. By thinking about things and going, this just gives me anxiety. This just stresses me out. Just by chewing on it, then you're struggling with this, right? You need to get past this. You need to find a way to go, okay, it's a potential loss. It's not a real loss. It's not an actual loss. You haven't realized it yet. So if thinking about the future and going, man, this is the worst if this happens, and it stresses you out. Not saying this would be bad if it happens and going, yeah, that would be bad. I don't want that. But if it causes you emotional damage, emotional impact, right, then you don't want to do that. Negative experiences haunt you. I'll give you a story here. One time I was coaching a team, and I was talking about a situation to the head coach where if we get down to, we can't take a knee. We can't take a knee and run the clock out, but we need to do something to run the clock out, and it's too long for us to really run a play, right? That kind of weird spot. So maybe it's 7 seconds left when you snap the ball, but it's 4th down. So you got to punt it, and you don't want to risk punting it. I talked about installing a play that, the quarterback takes the ball, kind of runs around backwards, and then falls down. Okay, brainstorming that idea. The coach's like, no, we can't do that because one time I did that, my team did that, 20, 30 years ago, and the guy fumbled it, another team won the game. Oh, okay, yeah, that did happen 20 years ago. It doesn't mean it's going to happen to us. It doesn't mean we can't prevent it. It doesn't mean we can't install something. It doesn't even mean that this play will be used. This is just to install it in case we find ourselves in that situation, and it is the best option. It's better than punting the ball, and they might run it back. That happens far more often than your scenario does. It's better than maybe throwing it and getting an interception. That happens far more often than the scenario does. And running it and not getting the first down, that happens far more often. So all those scenarios happen far more often than this one-off experience that he had 20 years ago. But that negative experience haunted him, and so that was the first thing. It's like, okay, he's the head coach, so we did it. But and guess what? The situation didn't come up, so it didn't matter. But we didn't even install it to be prepared for that situation if that moment came around, because that negative experience haunted him. Now, the final thing is decision patterns, right? Decision patterns. Let me set this up. There we go. Okay, decision patterns. So if you're the type of person who always is wanting to prevent a loss over achieve a gain, again, then you need to rethink that, because it's going to limit how many gains you can have. If you're always playing a preventative mindset, a prevent defense, we might call in football, then you're going to risk not gaining anything. You think about defense in football just real quick. If you're running a prevent defense, you're trying to do one main thing: prevent them from scoring. That's the main thing. It's a prevent defense. You're not trying to get a sack, not trying to strip the ball, not trying to get a turnover from a pick or anything else. You're trying to prevent them from scoring. And so if you're looking at your business going, I'm trying to run a preventative model here, I'm trying to prevent bad things from happening. Well, okay, you might prevent those, but you're also never going to have, or I say never, you're rarely going to have the positives, because all you're doing is running a prevent type defense. You don't want to do that. You want to be going forward, pushing forward. You don't want to be Wild West, but you also can't be just stuck in this preventative nature. You go against the odds. Now, you might be thinking, well, if you go against the odds, it's a good thing. No. You go against the odds. So, for instance, let's say you're a roofer, and you're not using local SEO. The odds are that's going to hurt your business. You're going against the odds, right? If you are a tech company that's getting a bunch of website traffic, but you're not using conversion rate optimization, going against the odds. If you are a financial advisor, and you're not staying in front of your clients and emailing them on the latest stock trends. You're going against the odds, right? You're going against the best practices. And so going against the odds is what some of us do, but we do it in the bad way. We don't take that mentality of, I'm going against the odds and I'm going to try to push this forward. We go against the odds and go, despite all that I have, I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to do. And it's stuck. It keeps us stuck. It prevents us from doing the things that we need to do. Which leads us to the final thing. You always want more information. You always want more. The reality is that you will not get all the information you want 99% of the time. Just a fact. It's just a fact. You just won't get it. You're going to want it, but you won't get it. If I knew everything that I knew today about decisions I'd made in the past, I'd make a lot different decisions. I didn't know that. I had to make decisions with limited information. And so what information do you want? I'll make a video on this, but what information do you have, you must know, and what information would you like to know? Like, that's kind of how you frame it. Now, the have to is really kind of optional a lot of times because we put things in there that we really don't have to know. But when you're really struggling with always wanting more information, you're going to find yourself in a spot going, man, if I only knew this, if I only knew that. Yeah, if I only knew the Powerball numbers, I would pick them, right? I don't. Okay. So what is the decision in your life that you're going, I always want more information on that you can cut out? Let me know if you got any questions, comments. I'll put this on YouTube and on X. So DMs, comments, whatever. If you got any questions, let me know.